Hello, and welcome to Amputee for Life, created to focus on members of the limb loss community and those who support them. We will feature testimonials from amputees, family members, and professionals working within the limb loss community, and include strategies, ideas, and heartfelt stories in the hope of providing greater awareness around the lives of some of the most amazing and resilient people on earth. My name is Jared Taylor, and I will be your host. My guest today is Jasleen Allyse. She is joining us today from the greater Atlanta area. Jasleen became a baloney amputee in August of 2023. She is a content creator. She has her own YouTube channel called the Amputee Zone, wherein she provides motivational inspiration, which she calls the nugget of the day. Jasleen also just recently released a trauma processing journal and workbook called My Time to Heal. Jasleen, thank you for joining Amputee for Life.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. You reached out to me through the Amputee Coalition's website and the community board and wanted to be a guest on the show. And I really appreciate you reaching out to me. We had a lovely phone conversation about 2 weeks ago where I got to get to know you a little bit more and about your story. But if you don't mind sharing with our audience a little bit about, for starters, how you became an amputee.
Okay, thanks so much, Jared. Thanks so much for having me here with your audience today. I became an amputee in a very weird way. It started like a leg cramp. It was crazy because I was walking every morning thinking I'm doing the right things for my body, trying to get into shape and so forth. And I woke up in the middle of the night with this horrible leg cramp. I was like, oh my God, I have pulled something. I'm not stretching enough. I'm not doing something right. Maybe I just need some better shoes. That was Jasleen's mentality at that time because there's no way in the world I could have ever thought that would actually lead to me losing my leg. A couple of weeks went by, the pain just got worse and worse and worse. And I was like, okay, I done sprung something. Something is not right. Pulled a bad muscle, done hit a rock somewhere because, when you walking just on the sidewalk, all sidewalks aren't even. And then sometimes you have to walk across the gravel. And I was walking from where I live all the way up to the city seat, which is like a mile and a half each way. So there was a lot of commercial districts I had to walk through to get there. So as time went on, it just got worse and I couldn't walk every morning no more. So I was like, okay, I got to go get some assistance. Then I noticed it started swelling really, really bad. And I was like, I started icing it and I started using a little thing. I forgot what they call it, where you hook like the electrodes up and you get the little vibration thing going on.
Muscle
You know what I'm
stim.
talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And thinking, okay, well, this will help, what have you, and I'll get better. It never got better. It got worse. And by the time my doctor's appointment rolled around, one leg was darker than the other. And I was like, I am in trouble and I don't know how and why I'm in trouble, but I knew then I was in trouble. So I went to the doctor. They ran slew of tests or what have you, took all kind of blood. I probably didn't have it here, but they took it anyway. Mm-hmm. And they called me that night and I was like, well, Miss Allyse, we need for you to come to urgent care like now. And I'm like, it's 9:00 at night. What you mean I need to come now? And they was like, well, we think you may have a blood clot and we want you to get some more testing and we don't want you to drive. So that in itself kind of had me like, y'all don't want me to drive. It never dawned on me at that time. Still, I was not in the mindset that, blood clot can travel and like kill you. Nevertheless, I got there, they ran tests, and they was like, well, we didn't see anything in your veins. That was the key right there. They didn't look in the artery. Mm-hmm. By the time I got to a specialist about 2 weeks later, which I was lucky because, as you know, trying to get to a specialist is almost just like trying to get Jesus on the phone for real, right? Without having to die and go to heaven to get it. And she was like, young lady, you are very lucky to be alive. You have a blood clot that has you blocked from my knee all the way to my foot. She said, that is why the discoloration is coming in and we need to get you in for surgery like ASAP. So she left me in there, and I'm sitting in the office, cold. You know, it'd be freezing in them doctor's offices. Cold, didn't know what to think, and I'm like, man. So when she came back, she was like, "Okay, we got you scheduled for the 27th of March. You need to be at St. Joseph's Hospital at this time, such and such and such." Just giving me, all the instructions. She said, "I want you to go home, and I want you to be still. I don't want you doing a whole lot of walking. Stay off your feet at all costs, and I definitely don't want you driving."
Wow.
And I was like, am I finna lose my leg? And she said, Jasleen, I'm gonna be honest with you. We gonna do everything we can to hold on to it. She said, but if we could have caught it when you first had the pain back in December, we'd have been able to put a stent in your leg at that time. So she was like, you have basically had an aneurysm. You've had a stroke in your leg. And I didn't even, that just never registered in my mind because I had never heard of anybody having an aneurysm in their leg.
Mm.
She said that clot could have went to your lung, your heart, your brain. You could have been out of here and not even knew what happened. I
Right.
was like, man, that is crazy. So we had the first surgery March 27th. I did not know till like surgery number 5, maybe, that I almost died on the table. They didn't want to tell me that. It was just like, well, why did you think you were in intensive care? I was like, well, I just thought that was the process. You be operated on, they send you to intensive care to watch you, and then they either send you home or they send you to a hospital room. She was like, no, sweetie, your leg was open for 3 days. It
Mm.
was a lot worse than they thought it was when they got in there. She said,
Oh,
you had a
wow.
very complicated surgery. And I'm like, man, I mean, this is like down the line we had operation like 5 because they had kept going back in for different reasons. By the time I had my follow-up visit in May, I found out I had another blood clot. So they literally sent me from the doctor's office in an ambulance back to the hospital, and I had to wait overnight, to get on the schedule to get surgery again. Did that. This was been my second time in rehab, which I hated. Oh my God, I hated rehab. No, I could not get out of that place quick enough. And I came out, and I was with a friend of mine at that time, and I didn't feel good. And she was like, "You've been laying around ever since you got here." I was like, "I don't feel good." She said, "You need to go back to the hospital." I was like, "No, I won't go back. I done stayed in the hospital for so long. I'm just tired now. I'm just tired of it. I didn't want no more hospital." It got so bad I couldn't eat. I couldn't stand the smell of food. I was throwing up. Finally went to urgent care. Found out I was septic.
Oh.
So again, from the acute care back to the hospital for yet another surgery. And I got there, and the surgeon walked in, and I was like, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know. He said, it's not your fault. It happens. You've had a lot of surgeries over the past couple of weeks. So they basically had to gouge the infection out of my thigh, which still looks like a science experiment.
Mm.
And it'll be that way unless I take matters into my own hands and have plastic surgery for it to close it back up. But I don't even know if that's possible. I don't know if it would be more risk than reward at this stage in my life. That just might have to be something I have to live with. So once they did that, they was like, well, you're going to have to be on antibiotics for the next 30 days. We can't keep you in a hospital for a month, so we're going to send you home on IV antibiotics. That in itself was just a lot because I had to, at that time, I was having to take antibiotics like 5 or 6 times a day. It came in these little balloon looking things that I had to keep in the refrigerator.
Hmm.
And I had a port in my arm. My veins, of course, shot to hell from having been in the hospital so many times. And then, they come in there every morning talking about, we need some blood. I'm like, for
Hmm.
what? What did you do with the blood from yesterday? It's the same blood. So my veins were shot. So they had to give me a port way up here in my arm. That was a horrible experience because my veins are so small anyway. It just took a lot. So doing that like 5 times a day for like a month, and then of course then they had to draw blood from the house and send it out to the lab to see if the infection in my body was gone. It was like, now once you get cleared, then we'll go back in and operate yet again. Went back in August the 5th. That was the last time I was able to drive. This was August 5th, 2024. And by the time I got to the hospital that morning, I couldn't even walk. It was so bad. I could not walk. I told my son, I said, tell him bring me a wheelchair because I literally can't make it. I mean, not even on a cane, not on a walker. I'm like, I just can't do it. I'm done. They took me in, and surgeons talked to me, and they were like, we're going to do everything we can. We're going to do everything we can. Well, after surgery number 3, and this at this point would have been surgery number 9. No, surgery number 8, because surgery number 9 was the actual amputation. They came in and they said, Miss Allyse, we have done everything we possibly can to save your leg, but at this point, the only recourse to basically save your life is to amputate. And I'm like, how much you got to take? I'm thinking I'm gonna lose toes, maybe part of my foot, but not the whole foot and part of my ankle. And I was like, I'm gonna be an amputee. I cried. Oh, I cried, I cried, I cried. Jared, I cried so hard. My surgeon sat there stone. I mean, just stone cold. Never once said, this is the best thing. You're going to be okay. We've done this 1,000 times. People have gone on to live very fruitful life. And I think a lot of that is missing in
Mm.
hospitals. It's like there's no compassion. They get so used to just passing by. It's like, okay, who arm next, who leg next, who toes next, whatever. It's like there's no thought process. Like, this woman has walked around for the past 56 years with both her limbs. And now you're getting ready to change her life, and you can't even say, I'm sorry it had to come to this. We did everything we could. This is the best thing for you. I mean, other than telling me it's that or death,
Oh, that's really insensitive.
basically. So I went on relented. I didn't want to do it, but I was like, if I just sit here and let this poison continue to travel up and down my leg or what have you, it's gonna spread to further part of my body, and that could really cause me to be in a whole lot worse pain than I'm in right now. And what type of quality of life would I even have at that point? So they went on and did it. The day after, I was just like, I would look down, pull the sheet back, and just look at all the bandaging, and and it was gory because it was still bleeding, and I was like, wow, I have literally lost my foot. It's gone. It's not coming back. But the story doesn't end there, because they sent me back to what? Rehabilitation again.
Hmm.
That was horrible, as it was the past 2 times I had been there. And a lot of my therapists who were there, they were gone. So I really felt so abandoned. I felt so alone, because I'm like, I've been here so many times. I know the nurses, I know the therapists and the aides and stuff. And so many of them had left just in that few little months. So I really was like woman on an island with no way to get back home.
Sounds very discouraging.
It was, and the doctors, he would be friendly or what have you, but he was really not trying to hear what I was saying. I kept telling him, I'm weak. And he was like, oh, that'll get better with time. I'm like, I am not ready to go back home yet. And you know what he told me? This is not that. And I'm like, what do you mean, this is not that? This is not that. We can put you in a step down facility. And I'm like, what is a step down facility? Oh, the nurse can bring you some information. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So I talked to the nurse, and the nurse was like, Miss Allyse, you won't make it out alive. You won't make it out alive. So I'm going to just be honest with you. I'm not going to say the name of the facility, but you won't make it out alive. She said, right now, in the mental state you in, and you're weak, and you need your meds like on a timely basis, you won't make it out. So I was like, wow. So that was like a brick in the face. But I thank God for somebody who was willing to speak up and give me some truth, because I'm putting my faith in the doctors that they're doing the best thing and was right for me. Well, needless to say, I got out of rehabilitation that Thursday. Monday night, guess what happens? I fall. Because what? I wasn't ready to be released in the first place. It was too soon.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I was here before when I had a leg and y'all was just trying to fix it. I was here 21 days. So how you felt like I was ready to go in 9 and you done took the damn leg off? Make that make sense to me. Make it make sense. I fell. I knew I had hurt myself, but I just didn't know how bad. I got my son to take me to the urgent care that next day or what have you, and it was bleeding all over the table. And then I had a very sorry emergency room doctor. Oh, just take some Tylenol and you'll be okay. Just appalling. Just
Wow.
the lack of care, just appalling. And the nurse looked at him like, I know she wanted to say, do you not see her bleeding on the floor? Because it was that bad. And she bandaged me up and she just very apologetic. I am so sorry. She said, I wish it was something I can do, but we're going to try to, get you stable at least. She said, but you're going to have to stay off your feet. So, of course, all of this, me staying off my feet, is really putting me further back in my recovery or what have you. And 2-3 weeks later, I noticed it was yellow pus and stuff was coming out. And I didn't feel real good. I started running a fever. And I was like, I need to see one of my surgeons. Something is not right. Went to see him because by that time, it was due for the staples to come out.
Oh,
Yeah.
not ready for that.
Oh, no. We nowhere near it. Not even close. And he looked at it and he was like, what happened? And I told him what had happened. And he was like, he didn't give you no antibiotic. And I was like, no. He gave me no antibiotic. He told me, go take Tylenols. So he said, well, it's infected. He said, I'm going to have to go back in and clean it all out and sew you back up again.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Back over to the hospital. I know all my staff at St. Joseph. And I'm going to be honest with you, having been there so many times, I only want to be on 4 East. I can't be nowhere else in that hospital. I done been on 3. Lack of care. 5, they don't care. 4, people look out for me. They have been good to me, and I would never be nowhere else, period. If I ever got to go back for whatever, that's the only place I can go. St. Joseph is a very good hospital, but, it's like everything else in life. You have good agents and you have bad agents.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and they were looking like, Miss Allyse, you just gonna stay up here with us. I said, y'all really need to just get me a wing or something. So when I come, I'm already set up. I'm like, I know my way around. I really don't need y'all to do nothing but run my meds. And I'll be okay by myself. Long as me and food services get along. Hey, you ain't got I don't bother y'all. I don't ask you for nothing. Just let me have that and I'm good.
Oh, wow.
They did that. I felt okay, thought I was going to be all right, moving forward. One day I was sitting in here. I was looking for work at that time because they fired me from my job when they found out I was amputated. They didn't try to see, well, she could do something else. She could do, our administrative stuff since she can't walk or what have you. Sent me an email.
How long had you been
Literally.
employed with them?
Almost a year. And they even
Well,
sent me flowers when I was in the hospital.
I guess regardless of how long you worked for them, that email is definitely the cheap way to go.
Yeah. Cowards.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sitting in here looking for work and it got the itching real bad. And I was like, man, what is going on? Now, mind you, I had been spraying a little cleanser and everything on there, trying to, keep it clean, what have you. And it just got worse and worse. I said, well, let me go to urgent care and let them look at it. So I already had an appointment coming up as a follow-up anyway. One of the doctors looked at it and she read back and she was like, I'm gonna send you down to acute care and I'm gonna let the internal medicine doctor make the determination. She said, I feel like you need to go back to St. Joseph's because it's infected again. And I was like, why am I getting so many infections? I'm like, what is going on? So went down there. I stayed down there basically all day. They were very nice. They very nice. And doctor came in and she was like, mm-mm. We can give you antibiotics, Miss Elise, but I think your situation is beyond an antibiotic at this point. So again, here I go, back in the ambulance, back to St. Joseph. And they had to operate again, and it was so bad this time they had to cut more of the bone. And he was like, we told you if it got infected again, we may have to go above the knee. And you know what, Jerry? I was just tired at that point. I was like, you can't have my knee. You can't have my knee. I'm sorry. You gonna have to figure something else out, but you can't have my knee. You have to put me on a wound pump, whatever you got to do, but you cannot have my knee. Because I felt like at that point I have lost so much. I had lost so much of me. There was no one and no guide to tell me how to process all of this. I mean, it's hell when you wake up and realize, and it's like your brain don't get it initially that that leg is gone, and you be trying to do stuff that you did when you had both your limbs. And I was just out there by myself, and I would have therapy or what have you. But I'm gonna be honest, there's some therapists I think don't understand how to talk to people who have lost a limb, especially people who lost limbs tragically, like car accidents, like my situation, an aneurysm or what have you. I really don't think that they don't get it, because it's like, how do I move on now? I'm not who I used to be. I'm not what I used to be. I had a lot of anger. And I'll be honest, there is still some left. It's not gone. And I've been told it will never all be gone, because this was trauma that happened to you. And it was like you didn't even know you didn't do anything wrong. It was just out of the blue, wasn't up to you. You wasn't in no car accident. You were just walking every day and had an aneurysm. You could have died, but you're still here. But at the same token, processing it all, trying to make sense of why did this happen to me. I have a section in there in my workbook about grief and loneliness. You have to really take accountability for yourself if you're trying to stay on this side of heaven for the time being and don't really want to check out. You really have to be focused on, okay, what is the best course of action for my mindset right now? In one of my talks, I talk about I was not prepared. I was so ill prepared. I had planned on moving that summer, and I'm thinking, well, I'll wait till I get past all these surgeries and stuff so I can, help more with my moving. I have to spend all my money on movers. And unfortunately, I never got a chance to move because I lost my limb, and I was not prepared for a bedside commode. I was not prepared for I can't get in the shower anymore. I was not prepared for a place to live that was accessible by wheelchairing. I stay in an older home, and the doorways are more narrow, and the hallways is not as wide, so I'm constantly bumping into stuff. And I was not prepared. I was not prepared trying to work on my upper body strength. That would have been helpful in rehab if they would have given me weights. I talk about in my talks my band time.
Yes,
Girl,
yes, very good. Yeah, I
it's
mean, I know what it's like. We aren't prepared,
no.
and so there is warranted anger and frustration. But what you've done, I would say, it takes a lot of people a lot longer, including I think myself, to get over um, the hurt and the anger. We want to get over it, but I think you took the bull by the horns as far as I can tell because it hasn't been long, but you went through a year. Is it like a year's worth of surgeries, right?
I
Before you're
had
amputated?
12 surgeries in 9 months.
Oh, and now you I look at your on your Facebook page, your nugget of the day, uh, and you're just you're free flowing this all this positivity and great advice, and it really it hits me every single day that I see you. Um, right at the core of me, and it's exactly what I need to hear. And so I appreciate what you're doing with that, but
Yeah.
the way that you're able to do that is what I'm getting at is harder for a lot of us where we want to do that, but we just can't get ourselves to. So how is it that you're able to get up every morning and talk about, you know, today's your day, or try to spread the
Correct.
joy and love and and healing that you do? I mean, you're a healer.
You know what, Jared? I do it because when I was in it, when I was in the hospital, all those times, all those days I spent in rehab, just in the room by myself, or either with somebody else who didn't want to be in the room with me or what have you, I didn't have nothing to hold on to. It really was just God and angels just surrounding my mind, because technically I should have gone mad.
Mhm.
But I feel like since he left me here, when they told me I could have died, I should have died on that table. He left me here for a reason. And I feel like this is a part of my purpose, to help people where they are right then. I didn't have nobody instilling positive in me every day. I had to be my own positive. And I still have to be my own positive. But there was nothing out there. Many times I was in there, nobody gave me a book, nothing. I had one nurse, one, who gave me a coloring book. That was it. I mean, the doctors, they just in and out, chop here, chop there, sew me up, send me on back, whatever the case may be. But there was no one to try to help me process what was happening to me and what my life would be like after that fact. That's why I did that talk and told people, even if it's the slightest remote possibility, prepare your tribe, have your people around you, get them on a schedule. Okay, I know you can't come see me every day or what have you, but could you come on a Tuesday? Get somebody else to come on a Thursday. And that means a lot, because when doctors and nurses see that, okay, they got people coming in and out, somebody's watching over her, it makes a difference in how they treat you too. Because if they just see you in there by yourself, ain't nobody coming to see about you. You ain't got no flowers, none of that. I love my Knights of Peter Claver sisters. They came to see about a girl. I always had flowers. Ellen Rogers, very good friend of mine. She was the first to bring me flowers in my room. And that meant a lot, but it is hard to maintain your mind, because if you let this slip, I don't care how much rehab you get, you ain't walking. I don't care what kind of bionic they make, you ain't walking, because you can't get past this. You can't get past what happened to me and why did this happen to me? And why isn't somebody talking to me about what I need to be focusing on? What I should expect? What should I expect my body to do? How should I be able to treat my body? Nobody is talking about that, and I still don't get it. I ain't seen it. Now it might be out there somewhere, but nobody showed it to me. So I said, why not me? Why not, give people some hope every day? Because you don't know where they are. I am a Stephen minister, so I have background in counseling to some degree. And you just don't know the little things. I've gotten a lot of feedback, like on TikTok, from people who said, Jasleen, that really hit home today. I really needed to hear that. And that's what keep me going.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, somebody else out there might be in a situation like mine. Maybe it's not amputation, but just trauma, period. That's why I named my workbook a trauma processing workbook instead of an amputee processing workbook. Because trauma is trauma. It don't matter if it's amputation, it could be depression, it could be abuse. Trauma is trauma. And you need to figure out ways to try to make that make sense in your mind so you can keep going and making wise and pertinent decisions for your life. But there was no roadmap for me. There was nobody told me about commode liners. They just sent me a commode. Nice commode, I might add. Very heavy commode. I give them that. But still, I'm by myself. I don't have nobody to just get up and just empty my bedpan. You know what I'm saying? And I know that might be a little graphic, but I'm just being truthful for the reality I had to wake up to one day. It was
And the
like,
reality that many wake up to.
yeah,
Absolutely. And your
how am I
faith,
gonna manage this?
yeah, your faith is really strong, and I'm sure it's felt like you've walked a tightrope at times,
Still,
but that yeah,
still.
and that's part of faith, and the unknown, which we talked about on the phone. It's the unknown that really seems so um intimidating and scary, and creates a lot of fear in all of us. I don't care how brave we once were or how brave we want to appear to be.
Yeah,
um Trauma uh steals that bravery, and it's not impossible to get it back. It's quite possible to get it back and be stronger than we ever were before, but it takes a lot of effort. And when you don't have anywhere to go and you don't know how to jumpstart that on your own, then it takes longer. The idea, though, and I love having you on as a guest because I know there's so many of our listeners that are, whether they're a new amputee or about to face amputation or they've been one for a long time, we all have areas where we need to grow and things still, we need to connect the dots. And every time I talk with someone such as yourself, you've been through a horrendous experience, and you've been through hell over and over again with this. And it reminds me that, yeah, I've had a hard situation and it's difficult sometimes, but a lot of folks have it a lot worse off than I do. And I learn and I grow from your experiences. And I know that you still have a lot of unknowns right now because, if I remember correctly, you're still waiting to be approved for disability.
yeah, yeah.
And
Still,
that just boggles my mind after
still.
hearing what you've been through, that you should have been accepted immediately or approved immediately. And so you don't have a prosthesis to don,
Nope,
and
not yet.
you're having to work and pay for everything on your own.
On my own.
And w- I'm sure that is just ceaseless prayers on to get the SSA to get their butts in gear to, to recognize
If they're
you
still around
if
at
they're
this
still
point,
around.
I don't even know if they're still gonna be around. So that's
Yeah.
why I had to make the decision to try to get work because I'm like, I just can't sit here and just lose everything. I'm
No.
too old to start over like that. And resources are not plenty. There's no roadmap for places to look for housing, um, groceries. Like they wouldn't even approve me for food stamps. And I had no job and no money coming in. Period.
I
Period.
I just can't believe that. I mean, I know you're telling the truth, but I just can't believe it.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of what you said about the doctors that, some of them are just, they seem so heartless and
Mhm.
they soulless, and they're telling you, well, this is how it is and this is what's going to happen, and there's no compassion. And it's similar to, well, with insurances and the Social Security Administration that are designed to actually help those of us that are in a situation where we can't help ourselves. I don't know. There's all sorts of reasons as to why it is the way it is, but it shouldn't be the fact where they're telling people that have lost limbs, well, you don't really need
Yeah.
anything. It's not a medical necessity for you to have a prosthesis. It's not a medical necessity for you to have, you know, a wheelchair, whatever the case is. What do they expect us to do? Just sit in the corner and rot? And I
Basically.
basically, yeah. And so
Basically.
it is up to ourselves and the strength of our community within the limb loss community, and I'm really grateful for organizations such as the Amputee Coalition. I mean, they're about the only one, honestly, to advocate for limb loss. Yet they don't have a very strong voice. It's
Mm-mm.
just all of
They
us.
don't have enough lobbyists.
What's that?
They don't have enough lobbyists. They don't have the
Exactly.
lobbyists. It
Exactly.
takes money. It takes money to get to be heard. It takes money.
It takes money, and it's so backwards, and so that's why, it's part of the reason why I set up this podcast and why you do what you do, is because, not because we want to make a name for ourselves or anything such like that, but
I
it's
could have found better ways to make a name for myself.
absolutely, absolutely. But it's the ability to be able to, if we can touch one person or reach one soul and help them live even just one more day, and
Just
have
one more
and
day.
and have that hope and create that that relief. Hey, we're all in this together. We only have each other to help each other get through this. And so, I just really, again, appreciate so much what you're doing. And with the trauma, My Time to Heal workbook, tell me a little bit more how that the journal aspect of that works, and how people can actually get to a copy of this.
You can get a copy of it if you check the link in my bio on TikTok. Is there? If you check the link on my Facebook, it's there. And on YouTube, if you check my post, I only had just that one post because I didn't want it to get mixed in and construed with other people. You can go to my Selfie store, and it is available for sale. You get the workbook as well as the journal for $30, which is a bargain because I have paid $30 for a pillow.
Right.
I'm
Right.
embarrassed to say, but sitting in a wheelchair is like you go, especially when you have to sit there all day, every day. You do whatever it takes to be comfortable. I'm thankful for my employer who was nice enough to send me a chair, an actual chair to sit in to work in that has a thick cushion. So I'm more comfortable being able to work. But the journal is just a series of things you need to think about. Like every day, it talks about what am I grateful for today? It starts off with a 30-day challenge. For 30 days, challenge yourself no matter what it is. If it's just getting out of bed every day, it took me a long time to get out of bed because I was so broken within. I was like, what am I getting up for? I can't go nowhere. I can't drive. If I go somewhere, somebody got to take me. And it takes so much just to get out of the house. So why am I getting out of bed? So you want to have that type of challenge in front of you saying, okay, this is what you need to do today. And what is my affirmation today? You can always tune into me on the Amputee Zone. I always got something for you. Um, I am enough. That one affirmation has stood out to me more than just a little bit because for the longest time when they first started cutting on me back in March of last year, I felt like I am just losing more and more of me. I'm not enough anymore, but I am enough. And I've had to learn the hard way. People have come and gone out of my life, don't talk to me, you know, for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe they think they're going to catch it or something. You can't catch it. It's not contagious. What happened to me happened to me. Don't mean it's going to happen to you. But I felt like I just wasn't enough. And I would do my talks. I have not done a talk in a while because it does take a long time and people's attention span is just like real small or what have you. What I've done is I've reposted them on my TikTok page. So if you want to go to my TikTok page, the Amputee Zone, Jazz, you can hear some of the talks that I did earlier this year. And I said I was going to do one talk every 2 weeks just to get back in because one of my girlfriends said, girl, I be loving them affirmations you be giving. I want some more affirmation. So to honor her and maybe a few other people, I said, okay, well, maybe I need to start trying to schedule. So starting the 1st of May, I'll be doing like a talk like once every 2 weeks, and it'll last maybe 30 minutes at most if I go that long. My goal was to like keep it to like 15 minutes, just enough to just get you over that hump, something that you can replay and replay and replay and get to what you needed to get, out of the situation. I also put a lot of things in there, stuff like medication lists. I put in there stuff I didn't have, keeping up with doctor's appointments because I had so many doctor's appointments and stuff in between. I would be lost. I was like, okay, which doctor I'm going to today? What lab tests I'm supposed to have? So there's like a back page of, all your doctor's appointments, all your medications. That is so important, especially if you end up going to like pain management, like I had to go, even though it was end up being a waste of time. But that's another story for another day. But just keeping track of your stuff, literally just keeping track.
Yeah, because
It's hard
sometimes,
to maintain records.
yeah, sometimes it's up in here, and like you said,
Yeah.
what am I doing today? What am I supposed to be taking? Where am I going? No, that is really, really smart that you added that into the workbook. That's really super cool because we need that. It's sometimes it feels like we're just trudging through the molasses, and just
Yeah.
everything is just so slow
Tar.
moving. Yeah, tar, and but it's not always going to be like that. And I think one of the things that's important is to for all of us to know our limits and what we're capable of, and understand when maybe we're not doing the right things. Like maybe we shouldn't be taking this particular medication anymore. Maybe we shouldn't be following this certain routine because it's causing pain or too much uh, lethargy or whatever the case is. So a lot of times it's hard because like we want to go to our doctor and ask the doctor, okay, well, what about this or what about that? But like my doctor, even though he has a naval background, or as a medical doctor for the Navy, I'm his only amputee patient. And
Oh wow.
so, and I've been with him for many years because I like him, and but I sure wish that he knew more about what I needed. But it's me doing my research and then coming to him and saying, "Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" He's always been very supportive, but honestly, we have to know our limits, is what I'm getting at, and know what's
Yeah,
working, what isn't
absolutely.
working, because it doesn't work to just stay on narcotics or
Mm-mm.
and sitting around. That is not going to help anybody heal, and especially those of us that have experienced trauma, and which is everyone who's had an amputation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know so much about the folks that were born with a lost limb or
Mm-hmm.
two. I mean, I know they've got their own set of struggles, but the trauma aspect of all of a sudden you don't have this anymore.
Yeah,
It's
it's
it
gone.
it's not there. So I just really want to emphasize to our audience that if you just feel like you're just stuck, I mean, it's part of the process. We do hit plateaus, but then again, we need to climb. We need to put forth the effort and really want to have the change. And that's what sometimes is hard to get the motivation to want the change. And some people just don't know how to find that within in themselves, and so that's okay because there's other people such as you that help pull that out, and it's okay to be able to lean on someone else's faith and and hope until we can create our own.
Yeah, it's okay not to be okay every day.
Hmm.
Like one of the pages in the journal, it was like, think of one good thing that happened today. Just one. And it might be that one little thing that you look back on Friday, be like, oh well, this did happen. I was able to get through to whomever. That's one thing. But there are times when you feel like there's nothing, like ain't nothing going right, ain't nothing working, ain't nothing moving. You know, what am I supposed to do? You know, feeling that anger. There is a chapter in the actual workbook that talks about anger and how to process that anger. And, you might need to get some cards. I even had someone tell me, they say I worry too much. So now I'm trying to create this worry box. Say you pull out your worry box and you can worry for only 1 hour a day about one thing in that worry box. And when that hour is up, You got to put it back in there and put it away, and you can't worry about it anymore. And I was like, you know what? That's a very good idea. Just, just allowing yourself that time to process. And I think as amputees, they so quick to try to get you in the hospital, cut you up, rush you through rehab, and just get you out so they can get the next one in there. They don't think about all the things in between that you are going through mentally. They barely looking at the physical.
Hmm.
Mentally plays a very strong, very, very strong part in healing. If you can't process what has happened to you, you can't get there. I talk about you are here. You are here in the now. Yes, you had the amputation. That is over there. But you are here right now. So I need for you to stay here right now, not look back over there so much. You will reflect. That's just normal. You ain't gonna never not reflect, but you're here right now. If you can just stay here, you can get over there. You can get to later. But if you stay stuck over in the actual trauma, you'll never heal.
You're
You'll never
right.
heal.
You're right. And that's where a lot of the anger can just fester and grow. And I was just thinking about it the other day. I was thinking about, oh, so I'm 9.5 years into my amputation, and I was thinking about the first 4 years. Um, I was kind of reflecting on that's after the after being an amputee for 4 years is when my wife and I split up and had a divorce, and I got to thinking about how weird it was that I wasn't an amputee for 8 years, and then I became one, and then 4 years later we end up splitting up. Um, but I had to take a long hard look as I was reflecting on some things as to what I was doing in that first 4 years. And those first 4 years were really hard. And I
Oh,
was really super angry about it. I was angry with myself. I feel like I know why I became an amputee. I mean, maybe if I hadn't done this, or maybe it had thought this through, or whatever, I wouldn't have been in the frame of mind I was when I was out running and jumped from the one part of the trail to the other that caved out and made me have caused my injury. I was actually in an angry state of mind that day when I went out for a run. I was really pissed off and had gotten in a big argument with my wife, and so that was locked in its place for a long time. And so when we broke up, I was just really blown away by it. It felt like someone put threw a stick in my spokes, and I
yeah.
took a tumble. But I wasn't really being completely honest with myself about my role in what caused us to split up. Um, and I realized that my anger towards myself and being an amputee was a huge component. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it wasn't the only component, and I don't think that we'd still be married now, even if I was able-bodied and hadn't lost a limb. There was just other aspects and factors in the relationship, but I had to look back at this and think, hey, Jared, you really were mad at yourself, and you now I've forgiven myself, but it took a long time, and I guess I just expected a lot of myself, and I think a lot of amputees are in that place, and I don't know how long it is for timeline's different for everybody, but what I'm trying to get to is the importance of forgiving
Mm-hmm.
ourselves
Mm-hmm.
no matter. I mean, a lot of people have no control over how they become an amputee. You're just in the
Mm-hmm.
wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But like I often say, I feel like in a lot of ways becoming an amputee has changed me for the better and has
Mm-hmm.
made me a better person, because that's what I feel like choosing to do. I want to learn from this. I want to grow. I want to be a better person. I don't want to be the same old person I was. And not that I was a terrible person, but I this has just helped me grow. And so forgiving ourselves is such a huge component to the healing aspect. We may not ever get that prosthesis that we want that's going to make us walk the way we want to walk, but we may get one that at least allows us to walk, right?
Yeah.
There's not going to be a super fix to get us back to who we were before, but we're still the same people. We just have to adapt to what our capabilities are. And so I think that forgiving ourselves and accepting ourselves as amputees is the biggest aspect and the biggest growing opportunity. And it'll allow us the opportunity to not only heal ourselves, but to be able to heal and help someone else.
Yeah, I talk about in the actual workbook, call out your trauma. Whatever it is, just call it out. And I give this exercise that you look at yourself in the mirror every day and say, I love you. I see you. I understand what has happened to you. Let me give you a hug. And I think that was the biggest thing when I was in the hospital going through everything. I had nobody to hold me. Nobody was there to hold me and tell me it's gonna be okay. I know you're here right now, but it's gonna be okay. And that was a lot. That was a whole lot at one time. Everything just seemed to like happen so fast. So I create this exercise where you just look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I love you, I see you, I acknowledge what has happened to you. Let me hug you, I love you. And just hold yourself tight. I found that to be so healing because you are actually making a connection. I had a pastor who he said years ago before he went into ministry, he worked for a cereal company and it was somewhere up north. And he said, he didn't know nobody. He just had a roommate and they just hi and goodbye kind of thing. That was it. And but he would go to church on Sunday. He said he would live for Sundays because on Sunday he knew two things. He was gonna get a good meal after church because they always had fried chicken and potato salad and collard greens, and somebody was gonna hug him and tell him they loved him. And he said that is what kept him going. That's why I talk about prepare yourself, prepare your tribe for what is about to come, even though it hadn't happened yet. Maybe you 3, 4, 5 months out from that. But prepare your tribe. Get your affairs in order. Make sure your housing is right. Even if I had been thinking differently, I would have went on and moved in before it all just came tumbling, a whole ton of bricks just falling on me at one time. But I'm thinking, I got more time. Didn't have more time. Had less time than I thought I had. And now it's like trying to put it all back together. I had no choice but to get up. I didn't have nobody to fall back on. I don't have a partner, none of that stuff. It's all on me. So I didn't have a choice but to get up and say, okay, Jasleen, I might go to bed crying every night, but I knew I had to get up every day and try to find work because I couldn't do what I did before. I mean, I don't have the resources to be getting out there trying to stand up and trying to show a house or something. That wasn't practical, period. So I had no choice but to get up. I had to go back and thinking, okay, what has kept me in the past with my traumas? That's where the affirmations come from. You should have seen me going back through notebooks and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is what kept me when I was going through X, Y, and Z. So let me pull on that now. So in turn, I'm using that and I'm giving that to other people who might be going through said trauma. And I think about like the talks that I give, every morning, the nugget of the day. I think about, okay, where are we now? What haven't I talked about? What do people need? And I try to dig into, okay, where am I just as a person right now? Not even an amputee, but it's coming up Monday. So tomorrow morning, my talk is going to be on, are you faithful? And I can't go in all that because I'd be giving
Yeah,
away.
yeah. I was gonna say, don't spoil it because I look forward to hearing that tomorrow. And everybody, just so you know, Jasleen, she gives these nuggets of the day, and they're super quick, within a minute or two. And
Yep.
man, I'm telling you, I love it because it helps me. It helps me just realize, oh
And it
yeah,
helps me to do it. Yeah. And it
yeah,
helps me to do it because I'm preaching to myself. I'm not just giving y'all stuff just to help you. I have to remind myself every day, am I being faithful? Did I quit today? Why am I still looking back? I think I did one this week. Like, stop looking back. Shoulda, woulda, coulda is gone. You can't fix shoulda, woulda, coulda. Shoulda, woulda, coulda is over. You got to stay forward. You will wreck your car swiding out of that. You got to stay focused. So those type of things, I really think about. I just don't get on there just rattling away or what have you. I really think about, I think about the world and where we are
I don't
today.
know
And
what just
like you were
happened, but
saying, how
you
we
froze
need
up.
each other. And I think people
We'll be able to
have
edit
become
this out,
so
but we need
jaded,
to get you
even
back.
myself to a certain
You froze
degree,
up on me there.
that we don't trust each other no more. We don't look to each other
Go.
for help anymore. We just kind of, oh, they'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I've had several people tell me, "Oh, well, you just have to figure it out."
Yeah,
Figure out what?
right. And
Ain't
yeah,
no rules now. Ain't it ain't like I'm getting on 285 out here, and I know if I get off on exit 2, I'm gonna be at MLK.
yeah. One thing I could definitely, you're so genuine, and I can definitely tell you are one who practices what you preach, and that makes it even all the better and easier to take in what you're suggesting and saying, because you've been through it, you're going through it, and you are pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, so to speak, every single day.
Yeah,
You've got your chin up, you're moving forward, as tough it is as it is, and as many tears probably roll on a daily basis. You're still doing it, and I just admire you so much, Jasleen. And also, I
thank
wanted
you
to
so much.
say
I appreciate that.
congratulations to you for finding work and having an employer that seems to be in your needs. There you are. Yeah, we had a little,
Little lag.
so might have been a solar flare or something. Um, but did you hear, I don't know if you heard what I said, but I'm just grateful also that you were able to find work and that you have an employer that actually is working with you and trying to accommodate.
Yeah, I am very grateful for that. I am very grateful for my employer right now. They have really reached out and extended me courtesy and accommodation, and I am so very thankful to them, for that. I'm able to work from home so I don't have to get out or anything like that. So, and there is opportunity to grow within the company or what have you. If I however long I decide I want to continue to try to work. Not no spring chicken no more. So I got to be thinking more towards the retirement stage, unfortunately. But it has been a blessing. It has definitely been a blessing to be there.
Well, your faith is strong, and your determination even stronger, I think. Maybe not, but they go hand in hand, and you really are a great inspiration to myself, and I know many people that, I mean, you have a lot of followers on Facebook and on your Instagram and TikTok, and I hope that we can generate even more for you. And
Oh, thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. We could all use the nugget of the day from Jasleen. And no, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. And
Like,
it just reminds me of, I have a this little affirmation that I've carried with me for years, and it's this simple three liner thing: strength to endure, power to heal, and the wisdom to learn. And
that's good.
and that's what I try to tell myself every day. Sometimes just the strength to endure is all we can ask for.
I can do, yeah,
And
yeah,
so I want to admonish our listeners to please hang in there. Don't give up. Keep your chin up and find ways, because there's many different ways that we can create more positivity and light in our life and lighten our own loads. But a lot of it comes from actually having to spend a lot of time on our knees too, and just
Mhm.
try to have faith and find your faith, whatever it is, your higher power. Please tap into it and know that there's many of us that have been where you're at, and you're going to be where you want to be eventually. Just don't
Yeah,
give up. Just don't give up.
yeah, yeah. I'm working on a second book. It's a little dark, but the day I gave up on life. and what brought me back.
Well, that's part of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's part of life. So it's okay we've got to go through those dark times to get
Yeah.
to get to the light, and we're there, and others will get there too. Just and it's okay to go through the dark. It's not okay to just sit there and live
To
there.
stay there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it gets troublesome. So again, Jasleen, can you just let us know again where to find you out there in the social media world?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook. It is Jasleen Sells Homes, and that's one word ran together, not two words. One word ran together. Jasleen Sells Homes. You can find me on Amputee Zone on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok on Amputee Zone with Jazz. You can find me on Red Note Amputee Zone. You can find me on Lemonade Jazz.
Awesome, awesome, and please spend the $30
Yeah.
on her
Invest in yourself.
yeah, on investing in yourself on the workbook and in journal. It's really amazing. It is again titled My Time to Heal, and it is your time to heal. It's all of our time to heal right now, right now.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. You're such a lovely person,
Thank
and you've
you.
been a
Thank
great
you so
guest.
much.
Thank you so much. Take care of
Thank you
yourself.
for having me. Bye,
You bet.
Jared.
Bye bye. Thank you for joining us today on Amputee for Life. Please stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, stay well, be safe, and please remember to enjoy the little things.